Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody. My name is Don Clemmer. I'm a sales engineer at Parallels, and we're going to be going through advanced technical training today for Parallels Remote Application Server. This is our latest and greatest. A couple of quick quirks in the WebEx. You are not all by yourself out there. I know you look like you are, but you're not. It's just the way WebEx works. There's a lot of people out there. Also, unfortunately, we need to keep everybody on administrative mute. Otherwise, we'd have all sorts of background noise, static echoes, etc., maybe even some hold music, although let's hope not that. So if you do want to ask questions, and I really encourage that you keep this session interactive, please go ahead and just use the chat function. I've got that open up on another screen. I'll keep an eye on it. You can use the Q&A function as well. I just tend not to see that as quick, but I will get to it. So just go ahead and ask your questions as we go along, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'll also leave a little bit of time at the end as well if we need to answer some questions there also. Okay, so just a real quick highlight in the course overview. Parallels for RAS Advanced Technical Training. We're going to go about 4 hours today. We're definitely going to take a couple of breaks. The format today is lecture, demo, and then the rest of it, of course, is going to be self-study. So stand up RAS, start a free trial, kind of work your way through it. You will have access to the recordings and the documentation, and you can use that to kind of deploy your own test environment. As I said, we are going to make a copy of the slides and the recording. They'll be available to you. And then there is an advanced certification exam out there as well. So there are some prerequisites here. These aren't required, so if you feel like you've got some experience with RAS, it's okay. Please don't get away from this. But we do expect that you're going to have some functional experience with Remote Application Server. You've completed the basic training or have some sort of equivalent hands-on experience, or at least have you've installed it and kind of do that. You've got a working knowledge also of RAS architecture. Additionally to that, we're expecting that you've got kind of a working knowledge of Active Directory and basic DNS skills, and a little bit actually in Azure. We're going to be doing a few things with Azure too, although I will walk you through some of that. Although that would also be good background to have as well. Again, if you don't have all this, go ahead and attend the training. We're not metering it or controlling it anyway, but just things we really recommend. Okay, and there's no formal training material for this course. However, there's plenty of documentation for it. All our online resources is at http://parallels.com/product/ras/support. I honestly just browse to it. Usually I go to parallels.com. That's easy enough to remember. And then I click on support and then choose the product. And then right there is our online knowledge base. I'm going to be referencing several knowledge base articles through this. And then if you scroll down all the way to the bottom of that page, scroll, you'll find the that's where you'll find links to our technical documentation. The administrator guide is very useful. There's also a solutions guide, best practices, printing best practices, all sorts of stuff. It's got all the detail there that you'll need. Okay, and moving on, the agenda today. Well, we're kind of partway through the introduction and overview already, but the technical topics we're going to be covering today are quite an extensive list. We can see them here. We're going to start off with Windows Virtual Desktop, and then we'll get into multi-tenancy and the tenant broker. We'll talk about load balancing on Azure and Amazon Web Services. We're going to go through SAML, troubleshooting and log details, and then there's a bunch of additional features as well. Microsoft Azure VDI and RDSH provisioning, Google Authenticator. I want to show that, how that OTP passwords or two-factor authentication works. I'm going to show you a few other features that people overlook and don't use very often, such as the administrator folders for publishing, permissions delegations, and then there's a bunch of more fairly new features in there that I also want to cover. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to wrap up and do some questions. A lot of these videos, a lot of this, I have pre-recorded as a video. And the reason for that is particularly when you're doing SAML or WVD, I mean, they can take an hour and a half, 2 hours or so just amongst themselves. And a lot of that time is just sit there waiting for things to provision in Azure and elsewhere. So I actually pre-recorded those videos, but I'm going to live narrate over them. So I'm right here with you today. We're going to live narrate, ask questions as we go through. I just sped up the video in places and cut some things out just so we wouldn't have to sit there and watch status bars go. And like I said, the wrap-up is kind of at the end in the questions, but please ask questions as we go through so we can make this a little bit more interactive. And then the one marketing slide I always throw up here, I promise it's the only one, is despite all these new features and all the new functionality that we keep adding in Parallels, there's still just the one cost, the one license model. There is no Advanced Enterprise Platinum Plus Data Center Edition. Everything is included. We license purely by concurrent user. That's really the only way we do things. And so you're entitled to go to the latest and greatest and grab all these new features as needed, and that also includes support and access, obviously, to the free training and documentation and all of that. So no price changes for this. Everything's included that I talk about. The only other additional cost that you might incur would be for other software, or running it in Azure or AWS or something. Okay, and then here's the exam information. If you just go to the Parallels Partner Portal and log in, you'll have access to the exam. There's a sales certification exam, there's our regular certification exam, and there is also an advanced certification exam as well. If you're not a partner and you're wondering what exam am I talking about, I wouldn't worry about it. It's not an industry exam. It's just an exam for our partners to make sure that they're certified, that when they go talk to our joint customers, that they know what they're talking about. Again, all of this material will be available to you. There's going to be a follow-up email which will have links about how to take the exam, get into the partner portal. There also will be have links to a Dropbox that I maintain that will have a copy of this recording and the slides and any other documentation out there that you require.